This comment was originally included in my When Your Job Won't Give You Any Hours sequel, where I talked about some of the things that were left on the original video. But I wanted to use it as a segue to talk about something that kind of upsets me, and it has to do with the lack of adults to understand nuance and complexities when it comes to employment. So I'll read the comment again. The reason is because if you get over 40 hours a week, we have to pay overtime. So to cut costs and increase profits, we aim to keep everyone at 40 hours per week or less. Have you considered getting a second job to supplement your income? That last sentence is what just drives me off the wall. Because oftentimes when a person already has a job, it can actually make getting a second one harder. Just to give an example, my job has consistently had me as a part-time employee with a fluctuating schedule. That means sometimes you might work Tuesday, sometimes you might work Wednesday, sometimes you might work Thursday, sometimes you might work Friday. You get the idea. And with this 6 days availability that they had with me, I've had shifts that started as early as 11 in the morning and as late as 8 o'clock at night. And all this is to say is that when your first job is so, just fluctuating in its hours and the times that it chooses to use you per week, you can't go to a second employer and say, oh yeah, these days I'll be off, this day I'll be off. Now, of course, a person could say, well, wait a second, can't you adjust your schedule and say, hey, at the first job, I'm only going to work 5 days, or I'm only going to be available for 5 days instead of 6. And that's true. But the issue, again, is that some jobs, even though everyone is so excited and, in love with having part-time employees, look down upon applicants who do not give them 7 days a week availability. I applied to a retailer just last month, and I said to them, I'm available Saturday and Sunday, because these employers, they love the weekend. They just start foaming at the mouths and drooling and get really excited for it. But I said, I'm available on the weekends, anytime you want me, I'm available. And I gave them some random weekday, and they responded to that application and said, your schedule does not meet our needs. Now, of course, I don't know what their needs are. I could theoretically go back and reapply with full availability, but again, the issue here is that and this is why I've always been so reluctant to quit working at my first job, even though they've been upsetting me now for, God, I think it's been, 3 months. When you quit one job that's part-time to work somewhere else, there's a possibility that place might hire you part-time, or in the beginning use you full-time and then switch to part-time, and then you have you're basically, you took a step forward and a step back. You have the image of progress when there really has been none whatsoever. Also, I should say that my availability, and this is just a personal thing, is further hampered by how far away my job is. I've talked before about how it is 60 miles of gas to go to and from that place, 30 to go to, 30 to come back. And I ended up having to leave 2 hours early to ensure that I'm always at work on time. So when I have a shift that, let's say they tell me, come in 3 to 8, I'm going to leave at 1 o'clock, or possibly even earlier than that, depending on how bad the traffic is, going to be like 12:30, just to lessen the chances of me being late, which, going back to this whole thing of, a second job, it makes it even harder to have a second job, because now that shift that was only 5 hours is technically 8, because you're investing time in trying to get over there, the commute, which makes it even more difficult to try to work somewhere else on top of that first job that you have. If you wanted to work in the morning, you could only tell them, I guess you could do 6 to 12 if they're lucky or willing, right, to give you a half shift on top of another place's half shift. But you see where they start to duel with each other. They compete, and they don't like when they conflict with each other. And of course, I'm reminded of how back in November of 2023, like right as I got hired, I talked about this before. I got hired by this one place, the one I'm with now, like October, end of October. But this other job that one of my relatives helped me to get was they hired me after, but they started me sooner. So at first I tried to work both jobs. I tried to say, hey, I'll have this one, right? I'll give you the availability, and then you can schedule me here based off of what days I'm not working at the other place. And they played ball for like 2 weeks, and then just let me go. They're like, yeah, you're not available when we need you, even though it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If the job that hired me second but started using me first had given me more hours, then I wouldn't have felt compelled to retain the job that hired me first but used me after they had already put me through the whole process. Like if they would just give people more hours, maybe they wouldn't feel incentivized to go and try to get a second job and then conflict with the one that they have with them, which leads to them getting upset, which leads to them trying to get rid of people. It's all just a really screwed up process. And then, of course, the part of this that upsets me the most, I mean, just look at the tone of it. Have you considered getting a second job to supplement your income? Like he really believes it's never crossed my mind to try getting a second job. I had a second job when I started working at my current job, and it was about 4 months later that I started looking for another one, because when they increased the wages, I went from consistently getting about 30 hours a week to as low as 10. Now, around the summer period, they started improving. They started consistently giving me about 25 to 30 about 25 on average, 20 to 25 on average. And this was enough for me to be able to get the little bit of stuff I needed and paid for the little thing. And, of course, I still didn't want to try to get another job because it was the fluctuating schedule. But man, when we hit October, November, it all went to crap. Honestly, this job is like being in an abusive relationship, like your spouse that just punches you in the face, and then like maybe 2-3 days later they come with some roses and flowers, and they say that they're not going to do that to you again, and then for about a month or two they're acting good, and you're starting to think maybe they really mean it this time, and after you've lowered your guard again, there they go punching you once more. That's exactly what this job has been, where it's just been periods where it gives a decent amount of hours, and I'm happy and satisfied like I was over this summer, and then periods like the last 3 months where it just all goes to crap. And it's been this way ever since they raised the wages. But it's just such a funny message. Have you considered getting a second job to supplement your? It's like, no, I mean, the way he makes it sound is like, have you considered going outside to mow the lawn? Like I can just click my heels and get a second job, putting aside how hard it is to even have two on top of each other. It's also very difficult to get a job in the first goddamn place. We did a whole series of videos showing, and streams as well, just like the saga of, I went to this application, I applied here, heard nothing back, I applied here, they said no, I applied here, they told me to come in for an interview where the person that's supposed to interview me was not there. I mean, I've said before, I said this last year, at the end of last year, a few weeks ago, or I guess a week ago at this point, I had a record number of job interviews where the person that was supposed to interview me didn't even show up. They did this not once, not twice, not 4 times, 7 times. But again, this guy acts like it's easy to just get, like, not only get a job, get 2 of them. And just you just get a second job. You just have to have 2. And you can just do it really easily. Just click your heels and suddenly you're working somewhere else. It's really sad that people, they have this, I don't even know what to call it. They have this like there's already the egotism of, I'm writing something you've never seen before, because this is not the first time someone has said get a second job. But also like the childlike view of the world, in the sense that, it's very easy to just start working at some other place. No, it's not. When those schedules conflict, when those places don't want to hire, but love to schedule you for interviews that they don't show up to, they make it borderline impossible to work anywhere else. So that's why I don't like this comment. And I maintain that there is something fundamentally wrong about the United States of America when a person needs 2 jobs just to meet their basic living standards of renting a home or getting groceries. I mean, when you have the average apartment, right, in California, $1,800, and you have jobs that sometimes won't even pay a person over a month long period 4 digits in terms of like revenue or the number of hours they give. That's insane. But this is where I said, like, they'll try to find more fault in the person than the system that has destroyed the lives of a majority of the people that live here. We've talked about it before. Over 60% of all Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and that is including people who work at two places, because the economy is screwed. The whole way that things are set up is just backwards, including the way that the people online think about these issues.